Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me for pricing. My email is tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we discuss a relatively recent arrival to the market. Though the model is not new, the variant is. This is the Tudor Black Bay GMT S&G for steel and yellow gold. So the watch is 41 millimeters in diameter. You can see that it is 14.5 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, 50 millimeters with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Throw the S&G on my wrist and you can see it looks good. A handsome contrast of colors with a root beer inspired bezel. It's broad across the wrist, so I'm going to recommend this watch for a wrist of 15 centimeters circumference or larger. My 16 centimeters circumference wrist has a little bit of clearance at each side, but not much, so consider 15 to be the lower limit. The watch is equipped with a lovely, slightly distressed calfskin leather design. You can see it has the look of age with an ecru off-white strap stitch and a contrasting binding, thick leather with sheer sides showing you the amount of leather invested. You can see on the underside we have a lovely rubber inlay to extend the life of the strap, protecting the leather against the oils, sweat, moisture, and grit of the wrist. Over on the opposite side, you can see that the clasp features a locking buckle design with a clamshell in the shape of the Tudor shield. So open that up and you can see it is differentially finished with both satin and polish. We have a polished single fold deployant. You can see that it uses ceramic pin snaps for long wearing durability and so that the tolerances will remain tight and snappy over time. That's the advantage of ceramic spring-loaded pin snaps. Rolling back to the case, it's relatively simple. The case sides are sheer. The lugs are actually narrow when viewed end on. There's a satination across their top and a bevel on their flanks, and that bevel is a little nod to the era when Rolex and Tudor cases, they were actually all made by Rolex, and the bevels would have been finished by hand. The bevels are long gone on Rolex watches, but although machine finished here, they're pleasing for nostalgic reasons. The crown, part of the S&G steel and gold conceit, and it's actually both at once, as the crown core is steel and it is capped with 18 karat yellow gold. Now you can see the mid-1968 and prior Tudor rose logo on the crown, and then you can see the mid-1968 and later shield logo on the dial. You could appreciate that the knurling of this bezel is wonderfully sharp and easy to grip. So though this isn't a dive watch, even if your hands were wet, sweaty, or gloved, it would be real easy to operate this GMT style bezel. Now, as you can see, we have a combination of light and dark, 24 hours, and while you could use this as a timing bezel, that's not really the purpose. If you take that extended 24-hour hand that moves once around the dial every 24 hours, and you set it to Greenwich Mean Time, you can then use the GMT offset of your destination airport to calculate a third time your time of arrival at that destination airport. So you have a true dual time watch with an independent 12-hour hand. You can hack the movement, stop the balance, hold the seconds hand, and move everything in sync. And then, of course, as with a Rolex GMT, if you wish to advance the date, you do so by freewheeling the local hour hand. And you can see that the date disc is the same color as the luminescent material, the ecru colored lume on the dial, which is the same as the stitching and the straps. There's a lot of nice design parallelism. We have some vintage inspired elements, such as the chapter ring in gilt style or golden printing, a nod to the early Rolex and Tudor Submariners that featured that chapter ring design. And we also have the so-called snowflake hand design here, and that is a nod to the late 60s through mid-70s Tudor Submariners with the so-called snowflake hands. And in case you're wondering, the bezel insert is anodized aluminum. There's a lot going on. Tudor, they're from Geneva. The watch is a GMT, and its chronometer, officially certified. It's a COSC chronometer. Underneath this case back, we have a Tudor manufacture movement. It is the MT5652. It is an automatic winder with a 70-hour power reserve. It has the stop seconds function. It has the independent 12 and 24-hour time zones. It's braced against shock with a winding rotor ball bearing system, a free-sprung balance, and a full balance bridge. It beats away at 8 beats per second. It is 5 position adjusted, COSC chronometer certified, and it features an anti-magnetic silicone hairspring, a feature that is still rare on Rolex watches. All of this water resistant down to 200 meters. And although it does feature Ecru Photina Lume, you can see that the watch is also well loomed at night, giving up nothing with all 4 hands luminescent, so the watch is easy and intuitive to read even in the dark. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.